Well, today, more than ever, we're conscious of our mental well-being, and many of you might be wondering what therapies are available for you out there.
Yes, ahead of the 40th anniversary of the Irish Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. We're delighted to have psychotherapist Liz Quish in with us today. Liz, when it comes to psychotherapists, I suppose, psychotherapy, we're all wired differently, so therefore one shoe won't fit all.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. We're all wired differently and have different needs, and maybe we'll go to counselling or psychotherapy for many different reasons. So I suppose it's important to think about what kind of counselling would suit your needs, because there's such an array and such a large volume of different modalities available, some of them being cognitive behavioural therapy, which is quite popular at the moment, and a lot of GPs would probably recommend cognitive behavioural therapy because it helps with your limiting thoughts and help to challenge your thoughts. Motivational interviewing is getting good publicity in terms of working with people in addiction and helping to motivate them out of their addictive behaviours. Then obviously you have Slattery therapy, which is one of my passions, art therapy, the list can go on, play therapy for children.
We might ask you more about the sound therapy in a minute, Liz, but maybe for somebody who's never gone to a counselling session before, never gone to therapy before, can you give us an idea of what happens during a session?
Yeah, and sometimes people might find it quite daunting to think that, I need to go for counselling. And I suppose the idea is to destigmatise seeking help and looking for support. So generally, the key thing, I suppose, it is having a conversation. But you're having a conversation with a specialist who has insight into the struggles that you might be talking about and has the tools and techniques to help you move through those struggles that you're having and help you to come to a resolution. Around those struggles. But, I suppose it's important to make sure that you can connect with your therapist and that you feel safe with them and that you don't feel judged by them. Because, as therapists, we would never judge what you would present with.
I'd imagine, Liz, the first step is the hardest to take, is it?
And it is, and I suppose I would find that I would get a lot of emails. And then, and the emails might say, when you get a chance, will you ring me?
So that's the first step.
That's the first step, that they might find it hard to actually make the phone call, but that they've actually sent an email. And then obviously I would ring them and put them at ease and introduce myself to them. So you're automatically building the therapeutic relationship before you've even met the person.
Okay. You mentioned sand therapy. I'll have to say that's a new one on me, but as somebody who's prone to a bit of stress, I must say I very much enjoy sitting in sand and running my fingers through it. It's just the most fabulous, relaxing feeling.
Absolutely.
It's got something to do with that, I presume, the whole idea of sand therapy?
Yeah, so you've hit on something there, that it is quite regulating, sitting in the sand and moving the sand, but I suppose there's more to it than that.
Of course,
it's quite a complex process, even though it looks quite simple to the observer. So really what sand tray is like you said, it is the sand and it's in a tray, and then we would have miniatures and symbols. So the client would, what I'd say, what whispers to you on the shelf.
So this is a shelf here, Liz, okay? So
yeah.
You'll send the person over there to do what?
So I'd give them a basket and I'd say, take a look at the miniatures, and whichever ones speak to you or whisper to you or even shout at you, take them off the shelf and put them into your little basket, because there's something metaphorically that they were drawn to those symbols that may have an expression of what's going on in their unconscious mind. So then we would sit down with the tray and I'd invite the client then to put their miniatures into the tray, just like I did one there this morning. So you see that I'm moving my hands around and regulating myself in the tray and then placing my miniatures and my symbols in the tray. And generally it's done in silence, but I suppose if you do it with children, for those that are qualified as play therapists, the child might talk through it and you would talk with them. But generally when I use this with adults and adolescents, we wouldn't talk while the actual client is doing their tray because they're processing.
Do they have a raised eyebrow when you start this, Liz?
Sometimes, and I would introduce it and say, look, this is a modality that I use, and I have a room that has the tray and all the miniatures, and I would bring them in and say, take a look, get a feel for it, and then we might move out to our other counselling room and chat. And then I would say to them, think about it for next week or the week after, and I would explain what it is about and what the benefits of it can be, because it can really help move stuff from the unconscious into the conscious and help us to see what's in the tray. And sometimes we can see the conflict in the tray by the miniatures that are presented.
Fascinating.
It is.
It is
Very
fascinating.
interesting. Yeah. There's a conference coming up, Liz, a mental health conference.
Yeah, so IACP, which I am a member of, is the longest establishing counselling and psychotherapy organisation in Ireland. And it's celebrating its 40th anniversary on the 14th of May. And because of COVID times, we were having a virtual conference. And anybody can log on to Everbright and get a ticket, and it's a free event. And the theme is essential conversations. So, you know, mental health is essential health. So there's different themes during the day. So there will be talks on parenting, there'll be talks on diversity and equality and inclusion, and sports therapy as well, and parenting, I think I said parenting, and positive body image.
There's something there for everyone, Liz. It's fair to
Everybody,
say.
yeah.
Just like there's a therapist there for everyone too, if you like.
Yeah, it's a really good point made there, Daithí. There is a therapist for everybody. And if you go for therapy and you feel that you're not connected to your therapist, don't be put off. Try again. Try somebody else. And the IACP have a directory of over 2,500 therapists, both male and female, and we're all trained in different modalities.
I'd love to try the sand therapy just to see what ones I'd pick out and what you'd tell me afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe someday we'll do that.
So you'd like me to analyse?
I would, in one sense, just out of pure, just to see,
Yeah.
just to see which ones I'd go for.
Yeah, it is very
Would you be
interesting.
interested in something like that, Elaine? Just to see,
Definitely, yeah. No, I'm very open to all types of therapy,
Yeah,
and I,
And often when you mention it to people, just like you said, I'm interested to see what I learn about myself
Yeah.
in the tray.
Yeah,
You know.
perfect.
yeah. And
Liz-
where can people find out more, Liz?
So you can find out more about IACP on
Yeah.
iacp.ie, and they can find out more about myself and Slattery therapy at greenan.ie.
Perfect. We'll put all that up on our Facebook page as well, Liz. Thank you very much for being with us. More information if you go to rt.ie/support.